Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are on lesson 15, and this is our second day and last day of reading The Boy Who Invented TV, the story of Philo Farnsworth. Let's go ahead and get started. So today we are learning to identify and analyze descriptive details so that we can gain a deeper understanding of the text. We know we are successful when we can identify descriptive details in the text and then analyze those descriptive details to determine how they help the reader better understand the story. By this time in the year, we're almost through fourth grade. We should be really good at finding that text evidence and really thinking about, why did the author include this? How does this help me understand the story better? Looking at our foundational skills today, you just have some related words. So you can remember that related words have this same root or base word. So we have locate and location, plant, plantable, planted, planters, planting, and transplant. So notice that all of those words have the root word of plant. And then we have seeds and seedling, sun, sunflowers, sunlight, and sunny. I hope it is a sunny day wherever you're at. So let's go ahead and move to our vocabulary. We have the word transmitting. Da, da, da. So we have that little gift there. It's like transmitting out, imagining like radio signals or something are transmitting out from this building. So it says, instead of seeing rows of dirt, he saw a way to create television, breaking down images into parallel lines of light, capturing them and transmitting them as electrons, then reassembling them for a viewer. Transmitting. What do you think that means? Very, very interesting. Well, if you didn't know, transmitting means to cause something to pass on from one place or person to another. So in this case, like I always think about radio, and they'll mention radio in the story today, but radio, it transmits the songs through radio FM waves from one place to another. So when it gets to your car, right, how does it get there? Well, it's going through these invisible waves in the air. It's being transmitted. It's moving. And then devoured. Ooh, and we have Garfield here. He devoured some food. Mr. Tolman, the senior chemistry teacher, noticed that this freshman devoured books the way students ate popcorn. What do you think the word devoured means? So hungry. Devoured means to consume quickly. So if he consumes books quickly, that means he's reading them very quickly, right? Okay. And then revolutionary. So the article praised a young genius for creating a revolutionary light machine. What do you think revolutionary means? Think about flow from Progressive here. It means involving or causing a complete or dramatic change. So revolutionary is like really new, like mind-blowing is what I think about it when I think of revolutionary. So that's why I have our gift like mind-blown. So let's go ahead and get back to our reading. It says, one bright, sunny day, 14-year-old Philo plowed the potato fields. It was the best chore for thinking, out in the open country by himself. Back and forth, the plow crossed rows of overturned earth. He looked behind him at the lines he was carving, perfectly parallel. Then he almost fell off the plow seat, all of his thoughts fixed together. Instead of seeing rows of dirt, he saw a way to create a television, breaking down images into parallel lines of light, capturing them and transmitting them as electrons, then reassembling them for a viewer. If it was done quickly enough, people's eyes could be tricked into seeing a complete pictures instead of lines. Capturing light in a bottle was how he thought of it, using electricity, not a machine, with moving parts inside. Philo's grin was wide. He told the ideas to his father, who tried to understand, but couldn't keep up with his son. Imagine he's thinking to translate these in waves, right? He's trying to transmit these pictures into electrons. In the autumn, Philo started high school, riding horseback 4 miles each way. Mr. Tolman, the senior chemistry teacher, noticed that this freshman devoured books the way other students ate popcorn. He started tutoring Philo, coming in early and leaving late. One day, Mr. Tolman passed by a study hall and heard a loud talking. Philo's latest hero was Albert Einstein with his controversial new theory of relativity. Now, Philo stood at the front of the room, enthusiastically explaining it to his classmates, step by step. Usually, Philo spoke little, but with a halting voice. But when he could share his knowledge of science, he was a different boy. Philo had been aching to discuss the idea he'd gotten in the potato field with someone who might understand. One day, he finally told Mr. Tolman. All over the blackboard, he drew diagrams of his television. His teacher was boggled. Philo ripped a page out of a notebook he always kept in his shirt pocket. He scribbled a diagram of an all-electric camera, the kind of converter he envisioned, an image dissector, he called it. Mr. Tolman pointed out that it would take a lot of money to build such a thing. The only way he could think of helping was to encourage Philo to go on to college. So imagine, guys, he's having this idea and putting this all together when he's a freshman in high school. That's really young. But Philo was forced to quit college at 18 after his father died. By then, the family had moved back to Utah to the town of Provo, and Philo supported them by working at all sorts of jobs in nearby Salt Lake City. His favorite one was repairing radios. Though commercial radio broadcasts had started 4 years earlier, Philo couldn't believe in 1924 how many people still hadn't heard one. On weekends, he organized radio parties so his friends could gather around one of the bulky wooden cabinets and listen to the news station. Pem Gardner, the girl next door, was interested in radio and also in Philo. Ooh. Wasn't it funny, Philo remarked to Pem, how they liked to watch the radio even though there was nothing to see? Radio was such a fine way to bring folks together, and television, he sensed, would be even better. So let's stop and think. In what ways did Philo's experiences with radio lead him towards the development of television? Let's think. So he's realizing how the radio can bring people together, and he's also learned about how the radio, remember, it's transmitting that sound through the air. So he's thinking, oh, I can do that with the pictures too. So I know he's making those connections, but he's also realizing, he's repairing radios, and then he's also realizing how these things can bring people together. Thanks to his obsession with television, Philo had already lost one girlfriend who called him too much of a dreamer. But Pem cheered him on. Now what he needed was money. He grew a mustache to look older, bought a new blue suit, and started to call himself Phil. He met two California businessmen over dinner one night. He took them through a step-by-step explanation of his image dissector, a camera tube that would dissect an image into a stream of electrons, converting them into pulses of electrical current. A receiver would capture the current, then convert it back into points of light, the original image. As he talked, he got more and more passionate. After scanning images line by line, just like rows in a potato field, the machine would beam them into homes. That was the best thing about television, he said. It was that families and whole communities shared the same stories. By making people less ignorant of one another, he went on, it would teach and inspire, maybe even lead to world peace. The two businessmen exchanged looks, then agreed to put up $6,000 so Philo could build the first model. They gave him a year to make it work. And guys, remember, at this time especially, $6,000 is a lot now. But in the 1920s, $6,000 is really a lot of money that they are just giving him. They're loaning him to be able to make his idea of creating this TV come to life. So what positive qualities did Philo believe the television might promote? And we talked about this a bit on the last page. So what did he think the television would do that was a good thing? Right? He thought it would bring people together. He thought that it would be good that everyone had the same story. And the big one, he said it could possibly bring world peace because everyone would be on the same page and everyone would have learned about one another and what's going on within the world. Philo hit upon a way to work 24 hours a day. He set himself problems to solve while sleeping. He filed for several government patents that would protect his ideas from the next 17 years. It was important for him to keep control, to get credit. On their wedding night, he turned to Pem. I have to tell you, there is another woman in my life, and her name is television. Pem helped out. Their first lab was their dining room table in Hollywood. Pem learned to use a precision welder to make tube elements. Everything had to be built from scratch. When they needed a break, they went to one of their to the new talking movies. Finally, they got the lights, wires, tubes, and tubes to work in unison. But at the first demonstration, Philo forgot one item. He failed to take the power surge into account. The entire image detector exploded. Pem, who took notes about everything, labeled this experiment bang, pop, sizzle. Still, Philo was able to find new investors who gave him another year. At his new lab in San Francisco, Philo met the deadline. In 1927, a small group of people watched the first image of him image in history flickered on a TV. He said, "That's it, folks, we've done it. There you have is an electronic television." The first image was not fancy. It was a straight line, blurry and bluish. Later, he was able to show a dollar sign and then the motion of cigarette smoke. The first person to be televised was his true love, Pem, who didn't know who she was on camera and had her eyes closed. Whoops. The following year, in front of the crowd reporters, 22-year-old Philo Farnsworth announced the invention of the television. That night, he was behind the wheel of a borrowed car. He and Pem were heading home after catching a movie with another couple. They stopped to buy the San Francisco Chronicle from a newsboy. And there was a photo of Philo holding his invention. The article praised a young genius for creating a revolutionary light machine. So remember, revolutionary is like brand new, like changed. Pem and his friends read it aloud, bouncing up and down, yelling. Philo was silent, but a big smile crossed his face. He was a real inventor, like his heroes, someone who connected people, a shaper of the world to come. Thanks to him, the future would include TV. Wow. So, guys, this is based on a true story. So it says the author uses descriptive details full of vivid language and sensory images to help the readers picture and experience events. In this lesson, we're going to focus on what each detail helps the reader better understand about Philo's life, his character, and his reactions to important events. So before we read this paragraph, we're looking for what is the author describing with the detail that Philo almost fell off the new plow seat. Okay. So it says, then he almost fell off the plow seat. All his thoughts fused together. Instead of seeing rows of dirt, he saw his way to create television, breaking down images into parallel lines of light, capturing them and transmitting them as electrons, then reassembling them for a viewer. If it was done quickly enough, people's eyes could be tricked into seeing complete pictures instead of lines. Capturing light in a bottle is how he thought of it, using electricity, not a machine with moving parts inside. Philo grinned wide. He had told his idea to his father, who tried to understand but couldn't keep up with his son. So again, what was he thinking about? Like, why does it say that he almost fell off his seat? What do you think? Right? He's so excited about this idea. He's like, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. And he's so excited he almost fell off his seat. Have you ever heard that? Like, I was so excited I almost fell out of my seat. And then what does this descriptive detail help you understand about Philo? So maybe he's very excited to try new things. He's ready to innovate, and he is very dedicated to creating this TV. All right, what does devoured books, the way other students ate popcorn, help you understand? Remember, it says in the second paragraph here, Mr. Tolman, the senior chemistry teacher, noticed that this freshman devoured books the way other students ate popcorn. He started tutoring Philo, coming in early and leaving late. So again, let's think. So they were talking about Mr. Tolman, his teacher. He says he devoured books. And we remember that devoured means to consume quickly. So consume either means to take in or to eat. So if he devoured books, that means he read them quickly. He read them the way other students ate popcorn. So what does that tell you about Philo? Right? Like, he's very eager to learn. He likes to reading. Yes. And then what does the descriptive detail that Philo was aching to discuss his idea tell you? So let's see where it says aching to discuss his idea. So in this paragraph, it says Philo had been aching to discuss his idea that he'd gotten from the potato field with someone who might understand. One day, he finally told Mr. Tolman. What does it mean when you're aching to discuss something? Does it mean he's hurting? No, of course not. This is figurative language. It doesn't mean he's actually like aching or hurting, but he just wants to talk to someone about his idea so badly, right? So he's very excited. He wants to share and tell someone and maybe get some feedback like he did with Mr. Tolman. All right, guys, we are back to our learning intentions for today. So today we were learning to identify and analyze descriptive details so we could gain a better understanding of the text. We knew we were successful when we can identify those descriptive details in the text. So I gave you several examples of some of those really descriptive details that we talked about. Check. And then we needed to analyze descriptive details to determine how they would help the reader better understand the story. So we talked about why did the author include those details and what did they mean. So that's going to help us to have a better understanding of our story. Check. All right, and for your reading response, you actually have 2 questions. I know I'm really going to push you today with 2 questions. So the first one says on page 116, Philo tells Pem after they were married, I have to tell you, there is another woman in my life and her name is television. What do you think Philo is trying to tell Pem with that statement? What is he saying to her? And then I want you to answer, when Pem and their friends read the newspaper and the article said that they were bouncing up and down, what does that descriptive detail tell you about the event? What does it mean when it says they're bouncing up and down? What is that telling you about the event? What's going on? How are the characters feeling? All right, and I want you to be sure that you're answering in complete sentences. And of course, looking back in the text. That way you can refresh your brain and use that text evidence. All right, that is all for today. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Be kind to one another, do all of your work, and I will see you guys later. Bye.